Good afternoon, everybody. It's Sunday, November 15th, and it's been approximately 90 days since I started this very public adventure of fulfilling my role as I guess I would use the word appointed representative of Chris Keniston because he asked me to be his running mate for vice president in the 2016 election. We represent the Veterans Party of America as the nominated team to represent them in the election that is going to be run this year. And we're watching the Republican Party and the Democrat Party and the Green Party and the Libertarians and all the other parties that are out there. And there's a whole lot going on in a lot of different areas. So I'm going to focus my conversation today on a couple of things that are very important to me for a variety of reasons. This issue of what happened in Paris, the issue of what happened in September on 9/11, the issue of what's drawn almost every single war to an apex for the last 100 plus years has so many layers of things that need to be questioned. And I'm not saying that I'm looking for some ulterior group or some secret society or some organization that is deliberately trying to destroy the world, as I don't believe that. Never have believed in that. I've asked a lot of questions about those kinds of things, and so I've had a lot of people assume that I'm some kind of a tinfoil hat guy that's looking for some kind of an Illuminati conspiracy organization that exists. And frankly, I don't believe they exist, so you can project and label me any way you choose. Here's who I am. I know that there are people in this world that I call power addicts. A great example, a classic example of one that was existing back in the 1900s was John D. Rockefeller. Research what that man did. Research how he was anointed by God in order to be the most powerful man in the United States through his financial gains and Standard Oil. Read and research all the things that he did in places like Ludlow, Colorado, and several other cities around the world and around the country where he had people massacred because they had the audacity to actually want different conditions to work in and living wages so that they could support their families. And he used the U.S. Marshals in one case and the Pinkertons in others and several other organizations, not because those organizations are full of bad people, but because those people were convinced that the organizers of the rebellion were bad people. And so they were representing the most powerful man in an inappropriate way, and force and violence turned into an ugly, nasty situation that never needed to occur. So, you can challenge me, you can undermine me, you can question me, you can do whatever you want, frankly. That's your right. I believe in a very core truth. There is God and there is Satan. And that version of God and Satan comes in all kinds of different ways and has been talked about in every major religious aspect of almost every single thing that has ever been discussed in humanity. And there are some very wicked smart people that have talked about it in much more eloquent ways than I will ever be able to explain. But here's what it boils down to. I'm a third grade mentality kid in a 41-year-old body that has, for whatever reason, been very educated and very aware through life and the way that I have gotten to this point. So I think and act like a third grader, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm perfectly comfortable with who I am and how I believe. And my belief is this: God is love, Satan is hate. God gives us free will, Satan tries to take it away. And so if your version of God and Satan are the flying spaghetti monster and atheism, I don't care. It doesn't matter. My opinion is my opinion, and only my opinion, and I only represent my opinion. I don't represent Chris's opinion. I don't represent the Veterans Party of America's opinion. I don't represent anyone else but myself, because I'm a nominated candidate, not an elected official. So here's what I'm trying to accomplish, and nobody seems to be able to understand this. There are few that get it, and there's more and more that are starting to understand me. I will post whatever I want to post on my Facebook page. I will post whatever I want, however I want, because I'm an individual and I'm a free man. Do you understand? Good. So you can do the same thing. And if you post something obnoxious and absurd into the social media domain, then if we're connected in some way and I see it, I'm going to respond to it if I'm so inclined. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But when I respond, I am very thoughtful, I'm very considerate, and I try really hard to be respectful even of people that are ignorant and full of hate. Because I believe in God and I believe in free will. And anyone that tries to tell me that I'm not supposed to do something or I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that, well, frankly, we're juxtaposed and we're not going to get along very well because you have no right to tell me anything. I accept fully as a very humble and honest and direct person. I will learn from anyone that crosses my path, and I will take any feedback and any criticism and anything else you want to throw at me with an open mind. But if you confront me with hate and violence and try to control me, you're going to have a really bad day because I don't respond to that. I just don't. And so specifically, let's talk about what just happened in France. Some really sick, demented individuals that probably were inspired by some hate-filled politician somewhere or some banker somewhere that is exploiting their passion and their religious beliefs and convince them to go do something very heinous and very horrible. And I don't know what organization they represent because, frankly, it's hard to tell what organization anybody represents these days. But the way everything's being branded in this world is that the Muslims hate everybody and the Muslims all want to kill everybody and the Muslims this and the Muslims that and blah, 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 blah make me puke. Because I know a lot of Muslims. And a very small percentage of the Muslims are actually bad people. A very, very small percentage. And the ones that are really bad people is the same amount of percentage that are bad Christians. And the same amount of percentage that are bad cops. And the same amount of percentage that are bad politicians. And the same amount of percentage. Because there's a theme here, people. Corruption always exists. Evil always exists. There's always some small group of every demographic that is out there that are horrible, disgusting human beings that have sold their entire soul and life and force and everything else about themselves to darkness and hate and vileness. It's what happens. And so then the reaction is people want to get indignant and people want to assume that they are righteous and that they know better and that they are smarter and they are more capable and they are this or they are that. And the reality is all that is justification for your self-righteous judgment bullshit. And it's disgusting. So stop it. Be a responsible adult. Be responsible for you and yourself. And teach your children how to be responsible for them and themselves. And then teach everyone the basic core value that God is free will, God is love, and it doesn't matter what your religious ceremonial nonsense you subscribe to, you're not right and everyone else is not wrong. Because there is one truth, God. It's that simple. So, how I describe myself, despite what everybody else tries to project onto me, I see myself when I look in the mirror. I know exactly who I am. And if you don't know exactly who you are and that causes you a little bit of insecurity and so you lash out in really obnoxious ways, I'm going to call you on it. I'm going to call you on it not because I'm trying to be mean or anything else, but because I'm not going to accept what you try to project onto me anymore. I'm not going to do it. I've done it for 40 years. I have allowed people in my life, including my mom, including my dad, including my brother, including my cousins, including everybody that has ever interacted with me in my entire life. I have allowed people to tell me who I am. And I did that out of a level of respect, out of the societal pressure of I'm supposed to be a good little boy. I'm supposed to do all these things to make everyone around me happy, and I'm supposed to follow along with the societal norms because society knows best, and because everybody is on the same page, and because of yada, 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 yada. And that is not living, and that is not freedom, and I will never go back to that again. I'm going to be me. And if who I am, the authentic, this is me version, is not okay with you, then unfriend me. If the authentic, this is Deacon, doesn't work for you, then don't be around me. Don't watch me. Don't listen to me. Don't interact with me. Leave me alone. But here's what I do know. There are thousands of people that I'm interacting with, and growing numbers every day. And so while one or two of you out of the 1,000 a day that I interact with, if one or two of you are so short-sighted and so small-minded and so insecure in your position in the world that you can't understand that your opinion is your opinion and we need to have a dialogue about it, instead you try to belittle me and undermine me and do all of these things, we're not going to get along anymore. So do us all a favor and take yourself out of my equation and do like the recycling thing and just go away. Because I'm not going to sit down. I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to worry about what other people think of me. So who am I? I'm a guy that will give you the shirt off of my back if I think that you need it. I'm not a sucker. I'm not going to fall for some BS story about how you need something because you're just an addict and you're trying to feed your addiction. I'm not a fool. But I will help anyone that crosses my path. I've always been that way. Anybody that's known me through my childhood, through my adolescence, through everything else, they know I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I will give you the shirt off of my back if I think it will help you. But if I think it's going to undermine your responsibility and undermine your work ethic and undermine things that you don't quite understand, I'm going to help you find the solution. Because I believe in truly helping people, not subjugating them. I believe that at my core, I am here to help anyone that crosses my path. I don't believe anything happens accidentally. I think that there is a bigger plan. I think that there is a reason why and I use the term Zionists, because there is a group of people that believe everything is predicted and everything is pre-written and that there is no changing things and all these other things, and they fall into a camp called Zionism. That's not saying that they're Jewish, which somebody accused me of the other day. That's saying that they are Zionists. They believe that everything is predetermined and predestined, and I don't believe that at all. Because if it was predetermined and predestined, then how do we get free will? You can't answer that, because if it's predestined and predetermined, then free will doesn't exist. And if God is free will and Satan is control, then who are these people really working for? Who are the real false prophets? So I call them out individually once I know who they are. Benjamin Netanyahu is absolutely an axis of evil. Hillary Clinton is an axis of evil. Dick Cheney is an axis of evil. They have sold themselves out to that control model. They are what's wrong with this world. And it's not that they're horrible people. They had such insecurities that the only way they knew how to survive is to actually sell themselves into that darkness in order to feel the power and fulfillment and whatever's going on. They have an addiction. And the people that scare me more than those three are the ones that are behind them. I'll call them a board of directors for lack of a better definition. If they're the CEOs or the CFOs or the COOs of that underworld nefarious crap that's going on, where political assassinations and everything else are really occurring, then the people behind them are the ones that scare me, and they're mostly bankers. Not your mom and pop banking places in the local neighborhoods. I'm talking about the heads of the banks. I'm talking about the ones that run the monetary funds. I'm talking about the global banking industry that is then covered up and masked by mortgage, insurance, military complex, pharmaceutical, the Monsantos of the world. Those are the people that are hiding the bankers that hide in the little back rooms, and they're like these little evil trolls that are controlling things that most people don't even realize are being controlled. It's not some Illuminati scandal. It's not some conspiracy. It's reality. There are a handful of people that are so addicted to power and money that the only way they can survive is to continue to perpetuate that. Rockefeller was the classic example. And so there's the Oppenheimer types and there's the Rockefeller types. And these battles have been waged for eons and eons. And people are falling prey to the disillusion and the propaganda and the manipulation and all of the different ways that they use to divide and control the world. So if you've made it this far, here's my final conclusion. John F. Kennedy started the Special Warfare Center in school. And in that model, the idea was truth is freedom. So the motto is Libertas et Veritas. And that has been perpetuated through the ranks of the special operations communities for as long as that organization's been around. Unfortunately, some people like the Bush family decided that they knew better and that they were smarter than everyone else and that they could control that. And so they've been using the CIA and special operations teams to go in and destabilize entire regions of the world. And then in that process, they are going to control the natural resources and feed their addiction and feed the people that they serve all of the things they need to exploit an entire area of the world. And so now we're all at war with each other, and nobody knows who's fighting who, and nobody knows what's really going on, because they've been doing these guns for drugs models, just like they did back in the 80s when Reagan was running it. And Reagan was doing the Ollie North Contra affair, even though nobody wants to admit that he was actually the one telling Oliver North and the people like Oliver North what to do, because that's how the system is set up. So what we need to do as a country is we need to deregulate D.C. We need to break up Washington. And it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be fast, and it's not going to happen nearly as quick as I want it to do. But we need to deregulate D.C. We need to invert this government. We need taxation and representation to happen at the most local level possible. And in doing that, now the local community knows where their money's going and what the representation is providing, and all of the resources that are happening at the federal level need to be broken up into smaller pieces, and the local communities need to manage that. There's some functions of government that can't happen that way, like national defense, which we shouldn't have a defense department. We should have a war department, by the way, because defense is an illusion. Security happens when you prevent somebody from wanting to fight with you, and I get that, and we have the might for that. But this idea of defense department, peace department, come on, what a joke. The only way you prevent people from wanting to invade our country is to have such a massive response when they do try to invade that they will never do it again. But where we got twisted up in all of that is we've started going into other people's countries to prevent it from getting to that point, and we've become the offensive, imperialistic version of government. And it's backfiring in every possible way. So while everybody wants to sit and whine and complain and wring their hands about what's going on and why is it happening, it's really simple. Think like a third grader. Stop thinking and overthinking and overanalyzing analysis paralysis crap that doesn't accomplish anything. Figure out what's going on. Trust your gut. Open your heart and think for yourself. Stop following somebody just because they sound like a rah-rah, whatever version that you're supposed to follow. Be your own person. And this goes for men and women. I don't care what your sex is. I don't care what your orientation is. I don't care what your background is. We're all children of the same one creator, and we all are fighting for the same things. Providing for ourselves and to provide a decent living. So with that, final statement. Libertas et Veritas. Truth is freedom. That's as simple as it gets. So, good luck. Godspeed, and I'll see y'all out on the road.